Okay, so, leading up to the 2027 elections, the talk everywhere is about good governance in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And everyone's trying to make sense of it all, right? Like what's actually going on in the institutions that are meant to serve the people.
You got a real desire for things to be better, for more accountability.
Exactly.
And having a clear picture of what's happening now is so important for getting there.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. So since the 2023 elections and the current administration came in, there have been a ton of reports and allegations, casting a shadow over basically every part of the government, the
Hmm.
executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Each one seems to be facing some pretty serious reputational challenges.
Yeah, it's not just like one thing that happened, right? This
Yeah.
pattern across all these different parts of the government is really what's got people worried as we look ahead to 2027.
For sure. And while we could spend a whole lot of time talking about each branch today, we're really going to zero in on the National Assembly. We've got this super interesting article from Thursday Live from Sunday, March 30th, 2025.
Okay.
It's called As An Assembly Battles Image Crisis.
Uh-huh.
And we want to really unpack this piece, get to the heart of the information, and give you a clear understanding of the challenges that the legislature is facing
Yeah.
and what those challenges might mean for the bigger picture in Nigeria. No crazy jargon, just the straight-up key issues.
Yeah. Trying to provide that context and those crucial details so that you can draw your own conclusions, about what's happening.
Okay, so let's dive in. This Thursday Live article starts off by setting the scene with the current National Assembly,
Yeah.
the 10th Assembly under Senate President Akpabio.
Yeah.
And it makes this interesting comparison right away with the Ninth Assembly led by Senator Ahmad Lawan.
Okay.
And that previous assembly was seen as the worst rubber stamp legislature in Nigeria's recent history.
Wow.
So, as we head towards the 2027 elections, it's natural to expect a shift towards a more assertive and independent legislature, right?
It does. That whole rubber stamp legislature thing means there wasn't really strong oversight of the executive branch.
Exactly.
So you'd hope with a new assembly, they'd show they can actually, provide checks and balances like they're supposed to.
But the report suggests that things aren't quite shaking out that way.
Hmm.
Instead of getting rid of that rubber stamp image, the 10th National Assembly is now dealing with a whole bunch of new problems, mostly having to do with their reputation.
Oh, wow.
Lots of allegations, and the feeling that they're failing to really hold the executive accountable.
And that perception for you as a voter probably raises some questions about accountability.
Right.
Right. Because in a healthy democracy, the legislature is supposed to be a balance to the executive branch.
Yeah.
It's there to make sure things are transparent and that no one's getting too powerful.
Right.
When people start to doubt that's happening, it really erodes the trust in the whole system.
For sure. And the article gives this very specific example,
Huh?
the immunity bill incident. So the House of Representatives actually passed this bill that would have removed immunity for VPs, governors, and their deputies,
Okay.
which, on the surface, sounds like a good step towards more accountability for high-ranking officials.
It does sound like something that could make things more fair,
Right.
where even powerful people have to answer for their actions.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting and kind of concerning.
Okay.
Just 24 hours later, the House reversed their decision.
Oh, wow.
The article says sources close to the lawmakers said this sudden change came about because of an order from the executive branch.
That's a big deal.
Right.
Think about what that means for the legislature's independence.
Right. It's like saying the executive branch might have too much sway.
If that's really what happened, it really reinforces the idea that the National Assembly might not be acting independently.
Yeah.
An executive order basically overruling a decision they made on such a big issue.
Yeah.
It really brings up the whole separation of powers thing, making sure that no one part of the government gets too much power.
Exactly. But the image problems for the National Assembly don't stop there.
Oh, no.
The article then focuses on those serious allegations of sexual harassment against the Senate President Godswill Akpabio by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. This is a big deal with potentially huge consequences.
It is. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, representing Kogi Central, has made some very serious accusations that have gotten a lot of attention.
Exactly. She's alleging that Senator Akpabio made repeated sexual advances towards her,
Wow.
both inside and outside the Senate chamber, sometimes even with other senators present,
Wow.
according to her BBC interview. Now, Senator Akpabio and those who support him have completely denied these allegations.
Okay.
And his wife has even gone so far as to file some big defamation lawsuits against Senator Akpoti Duagan, asking for a whopping 250 billion naira in damages. So clearly, Senator Akpabio is taking these accusations very seriously.
Yeah, the size of that defamation suit really shows how seriously they're taking this, and that they really want to protect his reputation.
But Senator Akpoti Uduaghan is not backing down. Her legal team has said that she has concrete evidence to back up her claims.
Okay.
And she didn't just keep this quiet within Nigeria. She took it to the international stage, bringing it up at the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, meeting in New York.
Taking these kinds of accusations to a global platform.
Right.
It's bound to get attention and scrutiny from everywhere, right? Like the article says, it's embarrassing for the National Assembly and the Nigerian government on a global level.
Exactly. And it seems like Senator Akpoti Uduaghan is even worried about what might happen when she gets back to Nigeria.
Yeah.
The article mentions her concerns about a possible arrest, so it's gotten beyond just the initial allegation.
Okay.
She's even filed a petition with the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, LPDC, to try and get Senator Nedimwen Bernard Imasuan disbarred. He's the chair of the Senate Committee on Ethics Privileges and Public Petitions.
What's interesting here is why she filed that petition. It's not directly related to her allegations against Senator Akpabio. It's more about Senator Imasuan's own professional background.
Okay.
Specifically, allegations that he was disbarred in New York before for allegedly misusing client funds and violating professional rules. And just so you know, the LPDC is the body in Nigeria that's supposed to regulate lawyers.
Right. Which, if these allegations against Senator Imasuan are true, it's a huge problem.
Really makes you think.
How can the person in charge of ethics in the Senate have their own ethical issues hanging over them? It definitely doesn't make the public feel confident in the integrity of the Senate.
It really raises questions about the standards we should expect from people in those positions, you know?
Yeah.
And how thoroughly they're vetted before they're appointed.
For sure. But the reputational challenges for the National Assembly don't end there. The article then moves on to these reports about bribery connected to the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. So there were claims going around that federal lawmakers got paid to endorse this declaration.
For you, as someone watching the political scene, these kinds of accusations really strike at the core of democracy, right?
Of course.
Because bribery allegations are serious business.
Yeah.
They imply that decisions being made might be influenced by money
Right.
instead of what's best for the people.
Uh-huh.
And that kind of corruption really weakens the foundation of good governance.
Now, Senator Akpabio, through his spokesperson, denied these bribery allegations really forcefully, calling them blackmail. And the deputy spokesman for the House of Representatives also backed that up.
Right.
Using some pretty strong language to reject the claims.
Those strong denials really show how sensitive this is and how much damage these allegations could do to the reputation of both the individuals and the institution.
Right. But the article then brings up a slightly different take. With the reported admission from the chairman of the House Committee on SCT, Mukhtar Ali Batara. He supposedly admitted to giving $5,000 to members of his committee. But he called it a solid gesture and insisted it wasn't meant to influence their vote on the state of emergency.
The timing of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Happening at the same time as this big political decision.
Right.
It definitely raises questions.
Right.
Even if that wasn't the intention.
For sure.
It kind of blurs the lines of what's considered okay.
Exactly. And then you've got former President Olusegun Obasanjo coming into the conversation, and he's not holding back. He claims that based on his direct knowledge, lawmakers did actually take bribes to approve the state of emergency.
Wow.
He even reportedly told a House member, Ikenga Ugoshinyer, that he heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
Wow. Obasanjo getting involved, given his experience and influence, really adds weight to these claims.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Ugoshinyer denied that each lawmaker got $200,000.
Okay.
But Obasanjo stuck to his story, saying that the people who got the money told him directly.
So now you've got these different stories coming from reliable sources.
Right.
And it creates this atmosphere of suspicion. And it's hard for people to know what the truth is.
Yeah.
It just makes the National Assembly look even worse.
So it's no surprise that big names have started voicing their concerns publicly. Former Senate President Bukola Saraki, someone who's actually held that position, reportedly said it's really important to protect the Senate's reputation.
He would know.
Right.
Having been Senate president himself,
Yeah.
he understands how important public trust is for the legislature.
Exactly.
And his warning highlights how much damage can be done if these accusations aren't dealt with properly.
And former Vice President Atiku Abubakar went even further.
Okay.
In an interview, he straight up accused the National Assembly leadership of corruption.
Wow.
Saying he wasn't surprised at all by their approval of the state of emergency and adding, "I know the leadership is corrupt and I have no apologies for saying that."
Wow, that's a huge statement.
Yeah.
For a former vice president to say something like that publicly, it really shows how worried people at the top levels of Nigerian politics are about the integrity of the National Assembly leadership.
Absolutely. And then former President Goodluck Jonathan also chimed in on this,
Okay.
expressing his worry about Nigeria's image on the world stage. He said there's a direct link between this negative perception and what's happening in all branches of government, executive, legislative, and judiciary. He talked about the real-world consequences for everyday Nigerians, like the value of our passports and how we're treated in airports abroad.
President Jonathan's point of view is really interesting because he's focusing on how this affects ordinary people. Those issues with passports and how you're treated when you travel, those are real problems that can make people angry and frustrated.
Right.
What he said about government actions being tied to the country's reputation. It's something we really need to think about as we look towards 2027.
Exactly. And this Day Live article ends by stressing the huge damage that all of this is doing to Nigeria's image abroad.
And that image isn't just some abstract thing. It has real consequences. It affects everything from attracting investment and having good relationships with other countries to how people see and treat Nigerians when they travel.
For sure. So let's recap what we've learned from this Day Live report, especially with the upcoming elections on our minds.
Okay.
We're looking at a National Assembly that's already burdened by the reputation of his predecessor as a rubber stamp. And now it's facing these serious allegations of sexual harassment against its leader and accusations of bribery related to a major political decision. All of this, along with that flip-flop on the immunity bill, creates this picture of a legislature struggling with its public image.
You got it.
And facing questions about its independence and integrity.
It's clear from the article that these aren't just isolated things happening. It's more like a bunch of factors all coming together to create a serious crisis of reputation for the National Assembly.
Right.
And it's something every Nigerian who cares about good governance needs to know about as we approach 2027.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to you, the listener. As we look towards the 2027 elections and all these calls for good governance, what role do you think voters can and should play in making sure their representatives are honest and accountable? How do these issues affect the way you might judge candidates and their promises?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Right.
How does this information change the way you participate in politics?
Yeah.
Does it change what's important to you when you're deciding who to vote for?
Right.
Does it make you want to demand more transparency and accountability from the people who are asking for your vote?
We really want you to think about these questions. Look for more information. Explore different viewpoints on these important topics. And consider how your voice and your vote can be powerful tools in shaping a Nigeria that is more transparent and accountable.
That's right.
That's what this deep dive is all about. Giving you the information you need to navigate these complex issues and become a more informed and engaged citizen in building our nation's future.
That's it.
Okay. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Until it's time.
Take care.
Bye.